What it do, mi gente? Today I'm gonna try smoking a brisket for the first time ever. I watched a bunch of videos, did a bunch of research. Shout out Chud's Barbecue, Meat Church, Mad Scientist. I watched all those guys' videos. I took all their insight, all of their experience, and I'm gonna see how it works out for your boy. So, first thing I gotta do is select a brisket. Then I'm gonna bring it back to the house. I'm gonna trim it all up, get rid of all the fat, and throw that bad boy on the smoker that you guys saw me restore. Right now I'm just out with my boy Gusito. He's got to drop off his little dingo nuggets, and then we're gonna get back in the crib and get it started.
Yeah. Spent a cool couple racks to get me icy, and I'm like, ooh, I see why they wanna fight me. Baby girl, you was just my hoe, you ain't my wifey. In my world, I got a lot of bitches, one in my D. Here we go.
Okay, slight change of plans. I totally forgot that I have an appointment today to get some touch-ups done on my tattoo. So I'm gonna take y'all with me. Hopefully Chewy's cool with me recording in there, but it's just touch-up, so it should be pretty quick. We're gonna head down there and take care of that. And then we'll come back and do our trimming on the brisket and then continue our first journey with smoking. Smoking that meat. Pause.
Boy, ain't no way, boy.
They said, who are you? And started laughing. I ain't embarrassed. I'm a fucking bad bitch, diamond in the rough to Mr. Diamonds.
Okay, mi gente, que la que hay? We just pulled up on my boy Chewy Tats. Shout out Chewy Tats, man. Look him up on Instagram. I'm gonna drop his ad somewhere on here. Figure that out. He did this tattoo for me back in May. He said, no problem, pull up. I got you. I'll do some touch-ups. Didn't even want to charge me, but I threw him a tip anyways, because that's what you should do. Okay, so we're gonna continue. We're gonna go back to the house now. We're gonna finish wrapping up that trim on the brisket. I'm predicting it's gonna take about 9 to 12 hours, 10 to 12 hours to smoke this brisket all the way through. And then we'll pull it off, throw it in the cooler, let it rest overnight so we can be ready to serve it tomorrow for lunch. And then we'll have some leftover brisket over the weekend, so do some brisket tacos, some Texas Twinkies, whatever, you name it, we're all about it. So this is the first time I've ever smoked a brisket. Hopefully it goes well. If not, I'm gonna run down to the street and get a rotisserie chicken. But as of right now, we're sticking to Operation BTSB, back to school brisket. Ya tú sabes lo que hay, mi gente. We're going back to the house now. We're gonna wrap that up, so I'll catch you there. So this is what we got together to prep our brisket. We're gonna do 1 part salt, 1 part pepper, and then...
No, and then. No, and then. No, and then. No, and then.
We're gonna build a binder using some mustard and some pickle juice. All right, so here it is. I mean, we've got a 14-pound USDA prime beef brisket. Got this from Costco. Should cook up really nice. We'll get rid of some of this fat, and then I should be able to get it seasoned and ready to go. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do on this trim is we're gonna get rid of this decal fat here on the meat side, as well as some of this silver skin. And then we'll flip over to the other side, and we'll just give this a nice trim so we got a nice aerodynamic flow. None of this is gonna go to waste. You're gonna see me trim off a lot of meat and a lot of fat. We're gonna keep the fat, we're gonna render it down, and we're gonna use that as our tallow. But all this stuff right here, just gotta go. We're gonna render that down and the cook for the most part, and we're gonna keep about a 1/4 inch right here like you see on the lean side. We're gonna try to keep that uniform across the entire fat side of the brisket.
Liability to be obstacles of niggas doubting me. This the mission to get commission from just being prophecy. Cop designer for the whole family. I hope they proud of me. Who as hot as me? The only nigga who fit outside. We rolling with the doors up. H-Town slow up. Blow money when we blow up. This dirty and this phone covers keeping my composure. The land of holy snake ways. Dap you up, they snatch you up. Land of holy fake ways. We smoking with the same gang. Cinco, where you at? Probably in the back. David got the business. I know he gon' handle that. With Khalif, boy, you best believe. Got a deadly team. If I got the vision, all they got.
All right, folks. So this is what we ended up with. Here's the decal fat we removed. Got rid of all the silver skin there, and then you saw me cut off a lot of meat. But the point of that is mostly for presentation, but also if you don't trim it properly, you're gonna end up with a bunch of burnt edges along here. So that's why you saw me cut that big old chunk off right here. But that's the whole point. Presentation is one thing. So you want burnt ends for sure. That's definitely some people's favorite part, but making this thing as aerodynamic as possible so you get a nice cover of smoke over the entire brisket and not just bumping up against those edges and burning that up. So that's the best I could do. Not as pretty as the videos that I saw on YouTube, but that's the best I could do for now. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get the fire started and then we'll come back in here and put our binder and our salt and pepper. Look at all that stuff that I cut off, man. Some of it's really good, so I'll go through and cut the good meat off, but all this other stuff, all this fat, no bueno. And we'll actually use this for tallow and also to throw it onto the wood so we get a little bit of flavor from there as well. So let's go outside and turn on the smoker. Okay, so I don't know the exact mixture for this binder that we're making, so we're just gonna wing it. I'm gonna get some pickle juice here, boop, not a whole lot, and then some yellow mustard here. So the whole purpose of this is mostly so that our salt and pepper could have something to stick to, because the mustard is too tacky and the pickle juice is too loose. So we're gonna mix the two so that we have a good binder here. And we're just gonna lather that on top of the brisket. Yeah, that should be good. Add a little bit more mustard. Boop. Good to go. All right. Set that aside. Bring our brisket back to the table and get this thing seasoned. All right, so we've made that binder with the pickle juice and mustard. Check on our fire, make sure that thing's good to go. Throw in our wood and get this smoker going, man. We're behind schedule. It's already 3:30, man. I wanted to have this thing on here at 2 o'clock. So we're an hour and a half behind schedule. I'm gonna check on this lump coal, throw it in the smoke box along with the wood, get the brisket seasoned out, throw this thing on there, and then set it and forget it. All right, so there you have it, folks. A nice classic Central Texas brisket seasoned with black pepper and salt. I went really heavy on the black pepper, as you can see. That's where we're gonna get a lot of flavor from that smoke. So you gotta be careful with this, with the binder. You wanna make sure you don't put too much because it acts as a barrier and you don't get that smoke flavor to penetrate the meat. Pause again. So I'm gonna go ahead and let this sit for a few minutes while I attend to the fire. Get that thing going. We're gonna crank it up to about 225, no higher than 250. And then set it and forget it. I underestimated fire management when it comes to smoking. This thing was billowing hot when I first started it. I was up to like 400 degrees, finally contained it a little bit. We're sitting steady at 250. I wanted to go at 225, so I'll see if I can let it get down a little lower, but we're almost ready. We're holding steady at 250. So I think, yeah, we're holding at 250. So I'm gonna let it get a little cooler. And then I'm gonna throw this thing on because, like I said, we're behind schedule. It's already 4:10. This thing's not gonna be ready till probably like 4 o'clock in the morning. But hey, we're committed. We're gonna get this thing done. Look at that smoke flowing. How about it? Pretty clean smoke. I think it's a little heavier than what's recommended. So I'll see if I let that chill out a little bit, get some cleaner smoke. And yeah, as you can see, we're holding pretty tight at 250. So I'm gonna let that cool down just a little bit, and then we're gonna throw this thing on, man. Finally get this thing going. All right, folks, a little bit of a miscue. I said earlier I was gonna put this thing fat side down. Most of the guys that I've been watching go fat side up. So apparently that's the Texas traditional way. So I'm gonna keep it all the way 100, keep it traditional, and we're gonna throw this bad boy on there fat side up. So we've got the temperature down a little bit. Ideally, I'd like to be at 225, but most of the videos that I watched said 225 to 250. So I think we're fine holding at 250. And I think the key is to throw in small pieces of post oak instead of the larger pieces that I initially put in. So right now I've only got one piece in there rocking, throwing out all this smoke. So I'll let that sit for a little while, and then I'll start throwing in little chunks instead of big logs. All right, here we go. I'm gonna go fat side up, point towards the fire. All right, we'll let that thing sit there for the next probably 3 hours. Yeah, we'll let it sit there for the next 3 hours at 225, between 225 and 250, and then we'll come check on it and see how that bark is setting. Okay, so we did a pretty good job separating the fat from the good meat. This is still really good meat. We can use this for some barbacoa. And look who just walked in when we heard me say barbacoa. Yeah. Don't mind my bootleg tripod setup. Shout out HEB. So yeah, just some good meat right here we can use for barbacoa. And then we got some fat here that I'm gonna throw on the smoker now, let it render down, and that's gonna be our tallow. Okay, y'all, it's been about 3 hours. Time to check on this brisket, see if that bark is starting to set. Still holding right above 250. Let's see. Oh yeah. Let's go. And all that fat starting to render down. All that grease, all that fat juice you see right there, I'm gonna throw it on top of that brisket when it's time to wrap it. Check on the fire. Yeah, we good. We good. Now I just gotta wait a whole another 24 hours. Nah, I'm just kidding. Probably like 8 to 10 more hours. No, not to 8 to 10. I can't do math. Probably another 8 hours. That'd be 11 hours total. In 8 hours, I'll check it out and we'll check the temperature. We're looking for, I think it's like 170 internal. No, I don't know. I gotta watch another video. Maybe like 205 internal temp. I'll check the videos and then we'll do a temperature check, pull it off, and throw it in the Yeti overnight and let it rest until tomorrow. All right, guys. So about 2 o'clock in the morning, 10 till, and I just pulled off all the fat. It rendered down very nicely, so I'm gonna go ahead and strain that into this container here, and that's what I'm gonna use when we wrap our brisket. I'll be pulling it off here in the next few minutes. We've reached our stall state. All right, guys, 2 o'clock in the morning. I just pulled off the brisket, got it wrapped up, waiting for the temperature to get back up on the smoker, and we're gonna throw this thing back on. This time we're gonna point the flat end towards the fire, and we're gonna let it smoke for probably another hour and a half or so until we reach an internal temperature of about 200 degrees. So I'm gonna probably bump it up from 250 up to about 275. That wrap's gonna help soften up that bark so we don't have so much crunch, but we'll still have that effect of the pepper. Yo, what it do? It's the next day. I'm gonna check on this brisket. I didn't do much recording last night after 2 a.m. I think that's the last time I recorded and gave you guys an update, but kind of struggled to reach internal temp. I think it was like 165 degrees. Struggled to get up to that so I can take it off the smoker and wrap it. I think I did record that. Anyways, after we wrapped it, I threw it back on the smoker and I had a difficult time reaching an internal temperature of 200 degrees. I could only get it up to like 198, between 195 and 198. Bro, I was already at 13 hours into this thing, so I said, F it, I'm gonna take it off and I'm gonna throw it in the Yeti, and then it's time to let this thing rest overnight. It was already, shit, it was like 5:30 in the morning when I finally pulled it off to let it rest. But I prepped the Yeti. I poured some boiling hot water in there for about an hour or two before I pulled off the brisket. Just so that insulation could keep the brisket warm overnight. So it's been resting since about 6 o'clock in the morning. It's now 1 o'clock. So that's about a 7-hour rest, if my math is right. I'm gonna check it now and get a reading on the temperature. And then I've got the oven on inside at about 170. So I'm gonna let it sit in there for a couple hours, and then I'll be able to pull it out, slice it up, and see how we did. Yeah, so great aroma, still warm, nice and moist. So you can see all the condensation here in the Yeti. The Yeti's still very warm, so I think this whole cooler trick is gonna do the deal, get the job done. I think most people just put their brisket in their oven overnight and just let it rest in the oven at about 170. But I think the Yeti's gonna do the trick. We'll see. Okay, the time has come. Time to pull this brisket out. It's been in the oven for about 2 hours at 170. Smells great. Smells great. We know it's cooked. It's been cooking for freaking 15 hours. All right, so here's the big reveal. We're gonna unwrap this bad boy and see if we've got a dried up turd or a nice Central Texas style brisket. Got some good flex to it, so that's a good sign. Oh yeah. Take a look at that. Look how juicy that looks. A little crispy on the edges here. I threw some foil on here during the cook about 4 hours in. Started to see it was getting a little crispy there. No biggie. Now, let's see what the inside looks like. Yeah, a little crispy there. No biggie. Feels real soft. Got that jiggle. Underside feels really good. So I'm gonna cut the flat first, and then we'll flip it 90 degrees, and then cut across the point. Oh yeah, baby. That's what I'm talking about. See all that juice coming out? Got a nice smoke ring here, as you can see. These gloves are too big for my little junior Whopper hands. We've got a nice smoke ring there, as you can see. A lot of juices running off there. Yeah, this came out pretty good. Oh, look at that. Oh yeah. I am very satisfied with the way it looks. Now, the other big reveal is, how does it taste? Oh yeah. 13-hour smoke, came out pretty good. Satisfied with that smoke ring, satisfied with that bark. Looks great, but let's see how it tastes. All right, y'all, so I'm just gonna slice this thing up, man. I'm gonna slice it up. I'm gonna get it prepped, set it on something for us to serve here in the next couple hours. And then I'm probably gonna shut this camera off and start enjoying it. I'll give you a little taste test review or reaction here in a second. Let me get to this. All right, so I got this all sliced up. Didn't do the best job, but I'm gonna go in for it. I'm gonna try some of the lean first. First time here, let's give it a taste. The smoke flavor is definitely there. Sorry about that. All right, so as I was saying, the smoke flavor is definitely there. The bark tastes great. A little drier than I hoped for. I think next time I'm gonna use Wagyu tallow instead of the tallow that I used to render down from the fat that I pulled. But overall, great flavor. Probably gonna have to throw some barbecue sauce on there. Let me try the burnt end real quick. All right, so burnt end taste test. Again, great smoke ring, just a little dry, Let's try that out. Dude, I think it tastes great, man. I think it tastes great. That's got great flavor. Just a little dry. That's my only complaint. I am my biggest critique, but flavor is definitely there. Flavor is 100% there. A little dry, but we'll work on that for the next time. So here's the end product. That's the point. Great smoke ring, great bark. I poured a little bit of tallow over it. I'm not gonna front to make it look a little juicier, you know what I'm saying? Here's the lean side. Again, the lean side was definitely drier than the point side, but great overall smoke flavor. Being this is my first time using that smoker, first time trying a brisket, I'm very satisfied with the results. Hopefully the family feels the same. All right, folks, that's it, man. I done with my first brisket. I think it came out pretty well. Wifey tried it. She said she liked it. Girls tried it. They said they liked it. Of course, they agreed with me that the lean side was a little drier than what we typically go for when we're comparing to our favorite spots like Pinkertons and Blacks and Blanco Barbecue, all the professional food joints or whatever. But for a backyard stick burner, first time smoking a brisket, I think it turned out really well. I'm very satisfied with it. Family should be here in a few minutes, so we'll get a group consensus. Of course, mom and dad are gonna say it's good. But anyways, to recap, so I had a 14-pound prime USDA brisket. I picked it up from Costco. It was 14 pounds and trimmed it all up. Probably trimmed about 2 or 3 pounds of fat off of it. So realistically, I was probably working with a 10 to 12, 10 to 11 pound brisket. First 3 hours smoked for 225 degrees. And then after that third hour, after the bark started to set, I bumped it up to 250. And I did that all night until I reached a stall, which was about, I think I went a little further, and that maybe maybe that's why the lean side was a little bit more dry than it probably should have been. I went all the way up to about 170 when I should have pulled it off around 160, 165 degrees. Anyways, pulled it off, wrapped it up, poured a little bit of that beef tallow that we rendered down over it, kept the same wrap. I didn't change the wrap. Threw it back on the smoker for another, that was the problem. So after I wrapped it and put it back on, I don't remember what the duration was, but I took it off at about 9.5 hours, wrapped it up, threw it back on, and total cook time was about 13.5 hours. So your boy was up till 6 in the morning. Not ideal. Again, that's because I had a late start. I should have started in the morning, but I had an appointment I had to get to, so that's kind of why I was up so late smoking that brisket. But anyways, that's the recap, man. I think it turned out pretty well. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this content, leave a like, drop a comment, and as always, como dice mi gente, muchas gracias y cuídate.
Ciao.